Surveying the American landscape today, we can see proliferating concentration camps, seizure of elections, brown shirt terrorizers in the blue cities, the end of academic freedom, and the demonizing of difference. Thank God it's not fascism. Arch-criminal Jeff Bezos has slashed funding to the WAPO and given it to an imitation of a movie about the first Frozen Lady, if you don't count Nancy Reagan. The film was made by the First Lady about Melania, so no conflict o' interest there. In fact, no interest. In War on America news, conservatives are anguished over whether to support Operation Metro Purge in its entirety or to think and pray about the ensuing brutality and murder inherent in the rampage. Representative Randy Not-So-Fine asserts it is the government's fundamental responsibility to protect Americans who bow to Prezi-King Donald I, last and only. Even the barely elected king's weaponized trolls are suffering from lowered morale. Many of them are saying that shooting pepper balls and chemicals at demonstrators was not part of their job, and that the White House was shooting itself in the foot by lying about the executions of innocents. They add that they have no training in crowd control, only in border control, if that. They also say that the high arrest quotas imposed by Viceroy Miller have caused the agents to become sloppy, not to say brutal. What will happen to the Trump-Miller patriotic pogrom if its executioners decline to execute? One former agent said, "It's like pulling a homicide investigator to attack jaywalkers." Yes, it is. Meanwhile, federal judges have released hundreds of detained immigrants who might otherwise have ended up in a Salvadoran death camp. Or worse, back in their home countries, where they are both unwanted and wanted. This is frustrating for Stephen Miller, who hates to see the worst of the worst released, or anyone. But of course, we shall be released, barring redistricting. Emperor Donald has threatened the U.S., well, and other countries too, that the U.S. will pull all support for Iraq if Nouri al-Maliki becomes president there. Emp Don opposed the U.S.-Iraq war, he says, preferring to just tell vassal states what to do and then bomb them if they don't. Scholars say this form of imperialism won't work and will strengthen our adversaries. The Don says no, Europe will remain weak and girly. The UN warns that if countries, a polite reference to the U.S., don't pay their dues, it will close by August. Close as in no more headquarters and no more General Assembly meetings. Since the UN was founded as a plot by liberals and communists like Eleanor Roosevelt and Winston Churchill, it stands to reason that the Trump administration simply doesn't have the $2.2 billion it owes to these globalists. The U.S. also owns another $2 billion for peacekeeping operations, now obsolete since the Prez has ended all wars. The Trump/some previous president Center Against the Performing Arts will close for 2 years while Kid Rock prepares new material. Prez says there should be more Les Mis and less Hamilton presented, showing off his deep knowledge of Les Mis, on a par with that of YMCA. No talent performers, say the Washington National Opera, argue that the closure is a cover for the fact that no one is coming and no one is performing. The Energy Department broke the law, which, to be fair, is its prime directive, by convening a secret committee on climate non-chaos. Woke radical judge and Reagan appointee William Young says the reason you can't have secret government committees calling climate change a hoax is that it's illegal. In the continuing battle between historical fact and the Trumpian fan fiction faction, national parks are putting a happy face on slavery, worker exploitation, and climate collapse by unmentioning them. Critics call this whitewashing, or perhaps white nationalizing. Films about women immigrants who worked in textile mills are out. Ona Judge, who escaped enslavement by George Washington in 1796, did not exist, and certainly didn't escape. A sign about rising sea levels near Fort Sumter has been removed, lest it get wet. President Let Them Eat ballrooms has tripled and, for some people, quadrupled Americans' health care costs, canceled health care for folks with gender dysphoria, and will reduce drug prices to negative 1,500%, mandating companies to pay customers for the drugs. That's enough money to pay your rent. And everyone knows he's right about everything, although, of course, later they will have always been against it. Meanwhile, the Bidenflation caused by the Biden pandemic has been rebranded as wokeflation, much like woke COVID. Free bleach for all. Also, new unwoke deportation judges. A recent poll indicates that New York State residents would rather save money on energy bills than save the planet. That's understandable when you're financially battered and squeezed. So maybe the poll asked the wrong question. Perhaps it should have asked, would you rather save the planet or turn energy companies into public utilities controlled by you? Or both? This country has entirely too little bothism, according to me. Anyway, you know the Trumpist slogan, don't tread on me. Go tread on them. And this week's quote of the month comes from a DJ. He goes by DJT. Quote, I don't need international law, but it needs him, and you, and me.